Hey, everybody, good evening, and welcome to the Positions on Sports Talk Show. Post live streaming on Facebook Live, our Positions on Sports Talk Show YouTube channel, and also check us out on Twitch. We are a sports talk show made for the fans from the perspective of fans, presented by lifelong sports fans. We will provide our opinions and positions on the hottest topics in sports. Today, we got the Power Play Fantasy Football Show. Every Thursday night at 7:30, we will discuss all the news from around the world of fantasy football. We highlight the most popular players, trades, injury news, starters, and bench warmers. Also, those top dogs, sleepers, quick hitters, quiet storms, and closers. My name is Professor J. I greet you this evening with praise the Lord. And tonight I have joining me my partner in crime and my brother, Sense. Say what's up, Sense, to the people.
What's good, everybody? Back again. Missed y'all, but here I am, ready to get it going. Let's roll.
Amen. Certainly, we send a shout out to our brothers J3, J Wheels, Big Ed, and Big Reg. We miss y'all tonight, but handle your business because you know your boys got it locked down. So we're going to start things off and kick it off with you tonight with the injury reports. Those are the most important things for you guys to know. So whether you're going to start them, sit them, follow our advice or not, but at least you'll be well informed about some of those fantasy players that many people have drafted and start week to week. So we're going to kick things off with Todd Gurley. He's at the top of the list. He has that ongoing knee injury. He was unable to practice today. So tomorrow they'll see if he can go or not. But generally by Thursday, if your man isn't out there looking pretty good on the practice field, then chances are, even if they do play on Sunday, might not be a good idea for you to play him this week. Next, we got Daniel Jones. Well, y'all saw his horrific hamstring injury. He did not practice today. I'm not sure why, but they're hopeful that he'll play Sunday. But look for Colt McCoy to make the start there. And hamstrings can be a little tricky. And since Daniel Jones likes to use his wheels, you know, that he could re-injure something. You saw what happened to RG3 last night. So I don't know if you want to put him out there, G-Man. Probably keep him on the bench just to be safe.
Would be wise.
Go ahead.
No, I said it would be wise too.
Yeah. Next, we got Tua Tagovailoa. He's nursing that thumb. Limited again on Thursday. Now, Fitzmagic is set to start. I don't think that changes any because you have a rookie, young quarterback. You don't need him out there throwing the ball, messing that thumb up even further. Thumb injuries can be tricky. You remember last year in the playoffs, that thumb injury Drew Brees had cost them in that playoff game because that one bad handling of the ball, that thumb, I think he fumbled it on that play. You do not want to play with that. And I think Gardner Minshew is out indefinitely because he has either a thumb or finger injury on that throwing hand. So I would keep the young man out. Go ahead, Sam.
No, I just wanted to add something to that. Now, I just heard recent reports that Tua is optimistic, and folks in that camp are optimistic that he may be cleared to start. But they're going to make a final decision by the weekend before the game.
Okay. Yeah, that's real life. But I would say fantasy-wise, that thumb can be tricky. He can cost you some points if he turns the ball over.
Good point.
So, I don't know. If you got another quarterback on your roster that you think is healthy, does pretty well, and can finish the game, because even if he starts, there's no guarantee that he finishes the game depending on how things go.
Right.
All right, we got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He had an undisclosed illness. He did not practice today. They did not describe it as COVID, so I'm going to leave it at that. Not going to speculate, but they're saying that he should be good to go for Sunday. Salvon Ahmed, shoulder. He's limited in practice today. DeAndre Swift, who the Lions really need back, he has an undisclosed illness. But his is more related to that concussion that he suffered. And they said that he cleared protocol concussion, but they're not sure if he's going to suit up on Sunday. So I would probably say illness coming off of concussion, might want to sit him out. He probably won't perform that well. Now, the one that people are waiting on, Dalvin Cook. The ankle is said to be okay. He was limited today in practice, and they're saying that he should suit up on Sunday. So that's a huge thing for Captain Kirk, because even if you use Dalvin as a decoy, he's a pretty good decoy. But if he's okay with that ankle, then he could inflict some damage as normal. DJ Chark Jr., who we haven't heard from in a while because he was starting to be a fantasy standout. He has the rib injury. He was limited in practice on Thursday. They're hopeful that he'll play on Sunday, but that play will probably be limited as well. And a wide receiver with a red flak jacket on, take it from me. That's limiting his ability to really stride and stretch for a ball, which he probably won't want to. So what you're going to do, just throw him out routes and stuff? I mean, that limits his ability right there. And then with ribs, that extension, I mean, just doing that, y'all, you can feel it down here in your core. So I'm not sure, but be wise. David Johnson, concussion. He returned to practice, and they say he looks great. So I would say that's a 50-50 there. Johnson is a baller, and if they say he's cleared to go and looks good in practice, he'll probably be able to help out the Texans. Josh Jacobs, ankle. He did not practice today, and he's trending downward, so it's not looking favorable that he plays this weekend. Nelson Aguilar, another ankle. He misses practice again today on Thursday, the second straight week of missing practice on a Thursday. I believe he did play last week, but he wasn't that much of an impact, so that might tell you something right there. Mm-hmm. All right, Kalen Ballage, ankle, remains limited on Thursday. Cam Newton, abdomen, limited on Thursday. But, of course, Super Cam is expected to play, and in fact, he says that it shouldn't stop him from playing. So play him wisely. On the defensive side, Khalil Mack, having back spasms, remains absent from Thursday's practice. I mean, Chicago really is done, in my opinion. If I'm him, I don't rush myself back, even though technically they still are fighting for a playoff spot. I mean, St. Nick is back from his injury, but they saying Trubisky will remain the starter. So that puts more pressure on the defense. I mean, I'm not saying St. Nick is a world beater, but he's a better option at quarterback than Trubisky to actually keep the defense off the field a little bit longer. But I don't know. It's a toss-up. That's why I'm like, because of the quarterback, Chicago, go ahead. I want to hear what you guys say.
Because just like you got faith and you pull for your man Kirk, I pull for Trubisky. I still think he's getting the short end of the stick as far as like chances. I feel like he is one of the more athletic quarterbacks in the league. He can run, he can throw. I feel like if you put a solid line in front of him, which he doesn't have,
right?
He can play all that. So now, it's easy for everybody to pile all over him, talking about, he ain't the quarterback for the Bears. But like in his brief flashes of talent, you see that he has it in him. You just got to provide him with the pieces. So I still got faith in him.
But you just said it. Who are his pieces outside of Allen Robinson? Comparable to what Kirk has with Cook, he got Thielen, and he got Jefferson.
Patterson. Chicago got Patterson, but that's
okay.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, it's
Yeah, I'm just comparing them. His weapons are a little bit better than his. So
but Nick can't run. That's the only thing. Nick can't run. Mitch can. So like I compare Mitch to like a Wentz, where like at least you have that going for you. If the other part it ain't working out, you can run. And
you mean former Wentz, because he had a statue this year.
Yeah,
he don't get away from anybody this year, which means that
games he has been like he'll run maybe for a good 10 or 15 yards on one play if he if the coverage is breaking down, or if he sees the play breaking down, he'll break out for a 15-yard run for a first down. So I see the thing with Mitch.
When he
Mitch
does look more like Jay Novacek running down there. He not like he used to be before he got them leg injuries.
Yeah.
But I hear you. Where we leave off? Oh, Julio Jones, hamstring, did not practice. I wouldn't play Julio for the simple fact that he comes in and out of the game. He'll pull it. Oh, it's tweak, coach. I'm out. Then he'll be like, oh, I'm good. I'm coming back in. Make a catch. Oh, coach, I'm out. I'm out. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't play that game with Julio Jones. Nah. Even if he does do that, he's not going to help you fantasy-wise. So don't even put yourself through that. Oh, the sad news of the week. Bud Dupree, done for the season with a torn ACL. And I like Bud Dupree. I think he was, I know everybody talk about Watt, but I think Bud Dupree was the alpha male, the stud on that defense that really pushed them to being what they really could be. Him being out could be huge down the playoff stretch when they playing teams that have much more or higher offensive prowess than some of the teams that they'll play in the next couple of weeks. Washington being.
I was about to say, side note, if you're a Washington fan, that bodes well for you because that, perhaps gives you a chance. I'm just saying.
Yeah, they hope so. They sure hope so. All right. Zach Ertz, J3 will probably be happy about this. He was practicing today, coming off of his ankle injury. So we'll see how he figures into the game plan. Jerry Jeudy, who's been one of the biggest disappointments this year, even though I know he can play, he has the ankle injury and was limited in practice today. And lastly, of notables, Philip Lindsay, off the knee. He was limited today in practice, and it's up in the air whether he'll start on Sunday. All right. So on to the honors. We're going to look at all the great, wonderful honors for the week. And we'll start off with our top dogs. And, of course, I have that bad man, Aaron Rodgers, leading things out. They'll be playing against the Eagles. It's sad to say, but what happened to the legend of the Philly defense? They are allowing the second most pass yards per attempt in the league. We know Rodgers can sling the rock, so he shall thread the Eagles this week for 30 points plus.
It's not even going to be fair.
It won't be. It sure won't. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. Russell Wilson, quarterback Seahawks. They're playing the G-Men, Giants. Welcome back to the top of the list, sir. You and DK should be cooking against the Giants. We will simply expect nothing less as you are looking up at the Saints and poised to win your division. Derek Carr, quarterback Raiders. Man, they playing the Jets. Okay, enough pummeling of the Jets, but they are who we think they are. And Carr is going to have one of those games where he plays out of his mind because he is tired of losing. And I know that Chucky has been in his grill all week. He will be a scrambling, passing, and quarterback sneaking machine this week. Rack 'em. Sleepers for this week. Dallas Goedert, tight end Eagles versus the Packers. Zach who? This is why he was on the trading block before getting hurt. Carson and the Eagles knew that Goedert, what he could do and what he was capable of. At times, he has looked unstoppable, and if Wentz can get a little time, he should do well against the Packers throughout the game, even in a loss. Juju Smith-Schuster, wide receiver, Steelers, versus the Washington football team. He looked well against the Ravens and will do so. And God, I hate when I read. I got to get better at this, but we love y'all. That's why this is a training session. He looked well against the Ravens, and with so many options for Big Ben at wideout, the football team secondary may have some confusion going on. With Claypool being the nightmare deep threat, Juju will work underneath and be a constant pain for the football team. And then we get over to the aforementioned Allen Robinson, wide receiver Bears versus the Lions. Yeah, I know he's a crybaby, but dude can play. He has to suffer through mediocre to poor quarterback play the entire season, but is fiery enough to snatch some 50-50 passes and give the team a chance against another lowly opponent in the Lions. Great pick as a sleeper this week. All right, to the quick hits. Deebo Samuel, wide receiver, 49ers versus the Bills. Is he healthy? You bet your tail feathers he is. We like DK, but Samuel came back Deboing Rams defensive backs last week. He should have a strong showing against the Bills secondary and lighting up for some huge plays. He is Nick Mullins' new best friend. Rack the points. Brandon Cooks, wide receiver Texans versus the Colts. With the recent I did not know what I was taking saga from WFV or the fifth, Cooks should benefit from Deshaun Watson's Madden-like performances to be on the receiving end of some big gains against the Colts defense that is formidable, but looks more to get healthy for a playoff run unless they drop divisional games like this. Tyreek Hill, wide receiver Chiefs. Need I say anything? But he will get a ton of looks and make some big plays so that the Chiefs can be on cruise control at the end of the game. The Broncos are still reeling, and even with a real QB under center, they will exhaust their defense from being on the field too much. Quiet storm. Taysom Hill, quarterback, Saints versus the Falcons. A Taysom storm is brewing, and he does not have to be a passing phenom to do it. He is a Swiss Army knife of a player and has enough in the arsenal to keep the surging Falcons off balance. This is a trap game for the Saints, but Hill should still perform well and keep the Who Dat Nation happy. Kyler Murray, quarterback, Cardinals versus the Rams. Because he is banged up, he almost did not make this list because the Rams are shaky, right? And he's here at this honor. But like Cam Newton, you can never count him out. So he lands in this category because of that shaky defense. And we know what happens to a dominant defense when they play too many snaps because of the offense. And yes, I am indicting their quarterback golf. Yes, I am. Kyler should have some late heroics to garner some extra points that he would not have gotten earlier in the game. Now, this one is a good one for y'all, but the stats, they warrant it. Latavius Murray, running back, Saints versus the Falcons. This section of the honors was created just for a dude like this. Alvin Kamara gets all the attention and the press, but this guy keeps plugging away quietly. With limited touches, he still averages about 85 yards per game and is likely to get a red zone touchdown each week. He will do more of the same against the Falcons. And now down to our closers, and you mentioned one of them already. Kirk Cousins, quarterback, Vikings versus the Jaguars. Okay, no one will confuse Captain Kirk as a top dog, but he is and can be a closer. Against the Jags, I expect him to hit his favorite, moving on up Jefferson. You know Thielen will get his, and with a hobbled Cook, old Kirk should get her done to win a close game and get 25 points in the process. Derrick Henry, running back, Titans versus the Browns. Sorry, Brownies, but you knew this one was coming. You may take second place in the division, but this loss will be courtesy of King Henry. He is going to have a field day in the fourth as usual as the Titans grind it out with his brutal and bruising running style and will lift his team past the Brownies. Patrick Mahomes, quarterback, Chiefs. He is here instead of top dog because the Chiefs are just toying with people this year. He has not had his best game yet and has not had to. He will do enough in the first three quarters to win the game down the stretch. Instead of a TD, he will just need to get a few key first downs and bleed the clock. All right. So those are the honors. Now let me jump into the trades, and then I'm going to turn it over to you, Sense. So trades. All right. Definitely, if you haven't done it already, Ezekiel Elliott. He's just not motivated to play anymore this year. Antonio Brown. He's a decoy at best. Will Fuller V. Maybe someone has been sleeping in your league and has not heard the latest news or missed the five. It happens. Get a good steal. So if somebody's sleeping and you put Will Fuller up for a trade and they're like, what? I'll take him. And then they find out later that he's been suspended. That's why you got to pay attention to fantasy news, y'all. We telling you it happens. I wouldn't have put it on there if it didn't happen. So if you feel like sleeping with somebody, go ahead.
I don't like what you're saying about Antonio Brown. though. He's been solid. He's been getting folks, at least me, double digit points as far as fantasy is concerned.
How many?
He'll give you a solid 5 for 80, or 4 for 70. His day's coming. It's coming. I'm just be patient. Don't give up on Antonio Brown just yet. That's just from me, sense.
Okay. All right. See, you got him and don't want to trade him, but I hear you.
No, because the minute you trade him, that's when he'll bust out for a big one, and you'll be like, why did I trade him? And
might have time keep throwing 2 and 3 picks every game. I think the book is out on Mr. Brady, man. People following him. He's staring his receivers down.
They cracking that code.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So even if he tries to get the ball to Brown, if people know what's up with him, I don't know. It looked promising early, but we'll see what happens down the stretch. Mm-hmm. All right, I'm gonna turn everything over to you, Sense.
Yes. What's good, everybody? It's your boy Sense back again with this week's Sensible Picks. So without further ado, let's start with the for shows. First, I have Corey Davis versus Cleveland. He can be a wide receiver too for a lot of teams against a beat-up Browns secondary that allowed a season-high 17.1 yards per catch to the Jaguars. So, next, Kirk Cousins versus Jacksonville. Yep, Prof. Your boy Kirk has made it to the start list, albeit by default, but made it nonetheless. But nah, seriously. He's been balling as of late, averaging a touchdown every 9.2 completion and averaging 21-plus fantasy points in his last 4 games. I can see him exceeding that against a porous Jags secondary. So start him.
Yep.
Next, I have Henry Ruggs III versus the New York Jets. Call it a hunch, but I see Ruggs busting out for a big game against the Jets, who are succeeding in their Sever for Trevor campaign.
And let me just say this. This is why I went back and I put Derek Carr as a top dog this week, because I think he gonna be slinging that thing around, and Ruggs is gonna be at the beneficial end of a lot of those passes, and I think they're gonna go after the Jets from the jump.
From the jump, especially with Aguilar still being injured. Like I see Ruggs getting a lot of looks this week.
And they need to get Waller involved too.
Next, I have David Montgomery versus Detroit. With the Lions' defensive line being hobbled, particularly with Danny Shelton being injured, this should provide a clear lane for Montgomery to have a monster game. Expect the points to be in double digits.
Yeah, ESPN shout out agrees with you on David Montgomery. I read up on some stuff there today, and he actually should have a really good game.
Oh yeah. All right, now for my sit-em downs. First, I have Wayne Gallman versus Seattle. Even though the pass defense has sucked, Seattle has been pretty good with defending the run, only allowing rushers 3.2 yards per carry and holding them to under 80 yards. I expect this trend to continue versus the G-Men. Next, CeeDee Lamb versus Baltimore. The Baltimore defense is coming off a well-fought game against the Steelers. The pass defense even had a relatively good game. I expect the Ravens to apply pressure and disarm the Red Rifle, shut down the pass game, and keep the Cowboys at the bottom of the NFC least.
You know what? The Ravens going to be real upset on defense and hungry. The red Rifle dude might be in some trouble.
It's going to be a bad day for Andy Dalton. Man.
He going to be in trouble.
Next, I got Tyler Boyd versus Miami. It's not that Joe Burrow is now done for the season. It's not that a no-name quarterback by the name of Brandon Allen is starting. It's that the Dolphins secondary is no joke. Absolute ball hawks. I see this being a bad day for the Bengals as a whole. And last, and definitely least, I would say Taysom Hill against Atlanta. This latest version of Slash has been having a good run the past 2 games, but unfortunately that comes to a screeching halt. No pun intended. The Falcons have gotten better, especially defensively, ever since firing Dan Quinn and hiring Raheem Morris, the defensive mastermind, as the interim head coach. Not hiring, but you know what I mean, with him taking over as interim head coach. Holding the Raiders to only a few points last week, this ain't the Falcons we've been clowning the last few weeks. All I got to say is, poor little Tay-Tay. Sit him.
Okay, so we definitely got to talk about that one
Mm-hmm.
because I think Taysom Hill is that dude that you can put anywhere on offense except the line and be able to create some matchup nightmares. Now, I'm telling you this: don't think for a minute that we won't see Mr. Winston in the game at the same time as Taysom Hill, because Sean Payton is a dude that does those types of things. They kind of mix things up. He saw the type of game the Falcons just had last week against the Raiders. He saw some things that they did on defense. And really, if people are trying to watch the film against the Saints with Denver, they might as well trash that and throw it out. They didn't have to do much against Denver because they didn't have any quarterbacks. That game was never in the balance. So the Saints really didn't have to do much but just run the ball. And that's what they did. So I think this week you'll see more of the play action passes because Taysom Hill can do play action because people scared him. He can do some read option because they scared him running. So I think that Mr. Thomas and Mr. Kamara, they gonna be ready to be on the receiving end when that Atlanta defense, bites on quarterback draws, quarterback sweeps, and all those reads that they'll make and try to slow Taysom Hill down. So I see what you're trying to say, but I think the Raiders, part of their issue is the same thing that happened to the Broncos, same thing that happened to the Ravens, is that they just came off of some serious COVID stuff too. I think a lot of them players were just coming out of that and they just didn't show up well. So, I'm glad the Falcons won. Mm-hmm. That wasn't a great representation of how good the Raiders actually are.
I just feel like the Falcons have something now with this new regime, and like as I said with Morris, he's a defensive minded coach, and you've seen with the defenses in Tampa Bay and his other stops, it's been real. It's been a real deal. So we shall see. And you really didn't help your case by saying Jameis Winston could be inserted because while he's a slash player himself, but he plays offense and defense because he also helps the defense by throwing picks. Mr. 30 for 30 himself.
Well, we haven't seen him this year, and I will put my money on the Saints' offensive prowess as coordinators and coaching people up than I would in Tampa Bay because Bruce Arians does not have a great track record with quarterbacks, and I love from here, Byron Leftwich, but Leftwich is really dealing with a quarterback in Tampa Bay this year that writes his own ticket. So basically what we saw with Jameis last year was a little bit of his inability to kind of rein him in and stop him from being so much of a gunslinger. So, I mean, I don't have anything against Jameis, but I think he's learned enough in this offense. Plus, it wasn't a matter of saying which quarterback was better, more than Peyton just saying we're going to get them off kilter by throwing a couple of these plays.
No, I saw your point with that. I was, kind of tongue in cheek. But also, another point I wanted to make was you don't think the Falcons are doing their homework right now on Taysom Hill and saying, it's kind of like, all right, after a while, when RG3 was doing this thing and he was like burning defenses and all that, teams started to do their homework. And they started to be like, okay, well, he runs this play a lot. He runs that play a lot. Okay, when he, makes the motion like this, we'll know what to do. And eventually people cracked his code. I could see that happening with Taysom Hill.
Well, I'm going to challenge that because as Washington football team fans, I think it was more RG3's injuries that derailed him more than teams catching up with him. So with that said, I would comp Taysom Hill more to somebody like Tim Tebow and then watching how his throwing style is, his tendencies and things like that. But I still don't think there's enough tape yet on Taysom Hill, especially as a passer, for them to be able to key off on certain things. So that's why I'm saying they'll be more scared of his run ability, which they have seen, and then he'll just pull up and maybe throw them little teardrops and things like that because the Saints have weapons all over the field. So to me, that's what makes it better being quarterback for the Saints because you saw what Teddy did last year, and I have no reservations whatsoever that Winston can do the same thing without turning the ball over. But he's not starting. And unless Taysom Hill has a terrible first half, we won't see him like that in full-time duty. I'm just betting that Sean Payton going to have about 3, 4, 5 plays for him to get on the field.
Well, we shall see. It'll be an interesting matchup. They're NFC South rivals, so they always get up for, each other.
Yeah.
So it'll definitely be.
And that defense has gotten a whole lot better for the Saints since the beginning of the year. And with them seeing Russ winning this week and the Seahawks being only 1 game behind them in that 2 seed, they need to keep trying to, create some space there so they can keep home field advantage. Because we know whenever the Saints got to go out to Seattle and play in a playoff game, it just doesn't go too well. So they don't want to do that.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff. So let's end by talking about the Ravens and Steelers from last night. I personally did not have any players in that game, and I'm not sure if you did. Did you have any?
Yeah, actually, I had Baltimore's defense.
Okay.
I had I think it was just Baltimore's defense, and I had no, I didn't start. So yeah, it was just Baltimore's defense.
Yeah, and actually, if Peters and Jimmy didn't get hurt last night, I'm thinking they still had a chance to pull off the upset, even though Wilson, that I'm not gonna call them names, that tight end had the ball right in his hands for a touchdown, and he let Minkah Fitzpatrick bat it out. And that would have took them into halftime 14-12. They would have had the lead because the Steelers only scored 1 more touchdown after that.
Yeah, it was
scored a touchdown. It was a real good game. That would have been, that was the difference to me, which would probably put Ben in a game-winning situation last night for that last drive. Maybe a field goal. Field goal definitely would have won it, but we would have seen a bit more pressure on them at the end of the game. Maybe he would have turned it over and Ravens would have taken away a victory. But I mean, I got to give my hat off to RG3. He was put in an impossible position, and he came out in the first half and he was doing his thing. He was running, he was trying to throw. And when people start criticizing him, like he threw that interception, you got to remember, the Ravens don't necessarily have these great wideouts, right? That's part of the criticism that they didn't give Lamar Jackson some better wideouts. But number 2, he doesn't practice with them like that. So timing is off as well. You can't always expect a backup that never takes reps, that never, gets in there with the first string guys and work on timing and just expect him against the Steelers at that. A vaunted defense to just go out there and start slinging it. But I thought he made plays up until the time he pulled that hammy or whatever. But I mean, I'm real optimistic that if he gets a real chance to be a starting quarterback in this league for the right system, he would be all right. But I think he's in a good spot in Baltimore because he has the same athletic prowess as Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has a step above because you got to remember RG3 had 2-3 knee injuries. So you're never going to be fully the same like he was 2012 in the league. I can't believe he's been in the league 8 years. That's crazy.
He's only 30 years old. That's it. Yeah, I mean,
but 8 years flew by, didn't they?
It did. And to your point, I would say that RG3 has nothing to hang his head down about. I would take this as a moral victory. Like, if nothing else, this built his confidence. Like, wow. So I was put in a big game situation. I held my own. Yeah, I threw some picks, but that's, to be expected. You're not going to have a perfect game. But, against a highly hyped Pittsburgh defense, I did pretty well. Got runs. I showed people that I still got it. Unfortunately, my hammy, let me know that, okay, you might have been doing too much. But other than that, even the Baltimore I would count this as a moral victory for the Ravens. Like, and then to reward yourself, you got Dallas next week, which could be a tune-up game, comeback game, and you right back in that playoff hunt. And these are crucial games because you can't play around because I mean, Cleveland can mess around and take your spot.
Yeah, and it's looking favorable that way because even though people they talk about the quarterback for the Browns and all of that, and they lost Beckham and all that good stuff. They still got Chubb, they got Hunt, they got the other wide receiver. What's his name?
Landry.
Jarvis. Yeah, Landry. They got the tight end. I mean, they still have weapons on offense, so you can't just count them out. And their defense is good.
Yeah.
All right, the defense is good, and they about to get Miles Garrett back in a couple of weeks. So I mean, you can't really count them out, and I think they're in a good position to make in the playoffs. Now, the Ravens can still lock down a third spot because remember this year the playoffs have expanded by one team per conference. So I think you get 7 people in this year. So when you look around at the other divisions, I mean, the AFC South. I mean, I know
teams in the AFC. I mean, you got Buffalo, you got Tennessee, you got Cleveland, you got I mean, and those 3 teams I just mentioned are all 8-3.
Mm-hmm. And you can't count out. I mean, I know people want to throw rocks on the Patriots right now, but you really can't count them out yet either. So it's still a pretty tight race. We already know the 2 teams at the top. You're gonna have the Steelers, you're gonna have the Chiefs. We got that. You got that in the NFC. You got the Saints there, you got the Seahawks. Everybody else is in the mix to fight for those other playoff spots. So, and then only the 1 seed gets to buy this year. Everybody else got to play that first weekend.
Yeah. On a totally different topic, I am just like baffled that a potentially 6-7, 7-17 can like claim a playoff spot. Like I was looking at the playoff picture and seeing the Giants there right now at 4-7 and having an automatic playoff berth because it's the NFC East.
Yeah,
I'm like, bro, and even that division, it's still anybody's game because you still have Washington right behind them at 4-7. So, I mean, and this is now me being a Washington fan. If they beat Pittsburgh, which is possible, and then turn around and beat San Francisco, because I see the Giants losing to Seattle. We get a game up on them. It's possible, man. It's possible.
I mean, yeah, any given Sunday applies every week. It is possible, but do you really think they're gonna beat the Steelers? I mean, really think
I would like to think so, but it's at Pittsburgh too. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Do you really think they're gonna beat the Steelers?
But like you said, anything's possible, so we shall see.
Yeah, it'll have to take probably an injury to Ben or something for that to happen.
I mean, we acting like Washington's defense ain't in the top 10. I mean, they're ranked 6th right now, and you saw what Baltimore's defense did against Ben. They like put a hat on them early and rushed. And I say Washington's defense is much better than Baltimore's defense. Washington has the number. And to your point,
you say they're much better than Baltimore's defense.
Look at the rankings.
Okay, that's because Calais Campbell has been out, and Ngakoue just got there to really be on that line. You got in and out for Jimmy Smith this year. Peters has been nicked up a little bit. I mean, I think if you compared healthy defense to healthy defense, no way are they better than Baltimore. But because of the
particular moment in time.
Yeah, right. I give you that. The line is definitely much better than Baltimore's at this time because they're hitting on all cylinders. The only thing that always disturbs me about the Washington football team, and it's been this way for double-digit years now, is that they just don't have great linebacker play. They just don't have that guy there that can really cover field. I mean, not since London Fletcher was in that uniform could he cover field, read the offense, call the plays on the fly, call the audibles, and get people in position. And then, we still hurting at safety, man. I know Apke flashed last week, but there's a reason why Apke been on the bench most of this year. he getting play. Him and Curl getting more play because Collins got hurt. So I'm just not sold on that secondary because and then Fuller sometimes to me, he knows he's a Pro Bowler, he knows he's good, but he get a little LeVar Arrington on us sometimes, just playing out of position, thinking he can try to make plays and stuff, and then he gets beat, and then he want to look around like, what y'all doing while y'all ain't helping me out when that was all on you, Slim. Yeah. We know you good, but just stay within the scheme and help your team out. Because when he gets beat bad. And then you find out he wasn't supposed to be there. And you're like, okay, just play your position.
Right. And then Darby gets too many pass interference calls. But anyway, I digress. They're still ranked number one. I mean, last I checked, they were still like the number one pass defense. So you have to respect that. So it's not going to be easy for Pittsburgh. Yeah, so I see it being a good game. If Washington, especially with this injury to Dupree, if Washington can catch them sleeping, it could definitely work in the team's favor.
We shall see.
We shall see.
All right, folks, we took you a little bit over because we had a Wednesday night game, so we wanted to discuss that a little bit because by next week when we get back on Tuesday, this game will be old news and we won't be saying anything about it. So we truly appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you make your setups on your lineups. There's no game tonight, so we're looking forward to Sunday and kicking off this brand new week. So we appreciate you. God bless you. And good night.